In the previous lecture, we created a circular progress bar, defined a custom color for it, and also inside the main activity class, we defined a timer for our progress bar. In this lecture, we are going to work with linear progress bars. The first thing I'm going to do is that inside my runables run method, once the timer is cancelled, I'm going to keep the progress bar active and still visible. So I comment out this line of code temporarily. I return to my activity main layout and I create a style for my progress bar. I type @style/widget.appcompat.progressbar.horizontal. If we use this style, our progress bar will change from circular to linear mode. I change the width of my progress bar. For example, I set it to 200 dp, and I also define the progress type of my linear progress bar. After the margin attribute, I type Android:(indeterminate). If I set the value of this attribute to true, my progress bar will be defined as indeterminate. And if I set it to false, it will be defined as determinate. I set it to true. Alright, let's run the project on the emulator. Okay, our application was successfully launched on the emulator. As you can see, the progress bar is linear and its animation is indeterminate, which means that it has start and finish points, but its progress value is unknown. You saw how easily we created an indeterminate linear progress bar. I stop my application. Now I want to change the progress bar from indeterminate to determinate. All I have to do is to change the value of indeterminate from true to false. In addition to this, I close the activity main layout and open the main activity class. Once I initialize my progress bar, I'm going to define start and finish values for the progress bar. So I type progressBar.setProgress. Using this method, I can set the initial progress of my progress bar. For example, I type 20. And also its maximum value. progress bar dot set max. Inside the parentheses, I enter the maximum value as an integer, for example 100. So we defined an initial value and a maximum value for our progress bar, so that by default our progress bar will have an initial value of 20 and a maximum value of 100. Okay, let's take a look at our application on the emulator. Alright, our application is running on the emulator. As you can see, our progress bar is now defined as determinate. It has an initial value of 20 and can progress to a maximum value of 100. Now I'm going to make my progress bar change its value incrementally. I stop my app and I change the initial progress from 20 to 0. And also, inside the run method, I define a condition. I remove these lines of code. It took 8 seconds before our task started execution. And the code inside the run method was executed once every 1000 milliseconds. Now I define an integer at the top inside the main activity, and I name it I, with an initial value of 0. Inside the run method, I define a condition. If ++I less than or equal to 100, curly braces open and close, else with curly braces, this means that every 1 second or 1000 milliseconds, I will be incremented by 1. And if then this value is less than or equal to 100, then execute the code inside the if block. Otherwise, execute the code inside the else block. If I is less than or equal to 100, then I type progress bar dot set progress. I pass it I, which says set the progress value to I. Otherwise, timer.cancel, which cancels the timer. Okay, let's run our app on the emulator. Alright, our application was run on the emulator. Now we wait until our timer's task starts execution. As you can see, the code inside our run method is executed once every 1000 milliseconds, and the value of integer I is incremented by 1, and as long as I is less than or equal to 100, it is passed to our progress bar. Now we want to define a secondary progress for our progress bar. I stop the application. Here at the top, after defining my initial progress, I also define a secondary progress. So I type progress bar dot set secondary progress. I enter a secondary progress value for my progress bar. I set it to 0. Once every 1 second, our progress bar grows by 1 unit. I type progress bar dot set secondary progress and I pass it I plus 10. Okay, let's run the project on the emulator. Alright, our application is running on the emulator. We wait until our timer starts its task. As you can see, the code inside the run method is executed once every 1 second. And in addition to the initial progress, we also see a secondary progress on the progress bar. Now, if we want the progression to be faster, we can decrease the period value for our timer. I stop the app on the emulator and I change the period from 1000 to 300 milliseconds, which means run the code inside the run method once every 300 milliseconds. Again, I run my app on the emulator. Alright, my app is running on the emulator. I wait until the timer starts its task. And yes, we see that this time our progress bar is completed much faster. This is the initial value of my progress bar and this is the secondary value. We wait until the progress bar is complete. Once your progress bar is completed, inside the else block, after cancelling the timer, you can type progress bar dot set visibility. Inside the parentheses, type view.gone. Exactly as for circular progress bars, you can hide the progress bar. Okay, that's it for linear progress bars. In the next lecture, we will get output from our linear progress bar project.